Good afternoon. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Let's go to the story, The Banyan Tree. Okay. It's a very interesting story.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
sir.
Good afternoon. Good morning. If you feel fresh, it's a morning.
Good afternoon.
If you feel that number of classes have taken place and it's afternoon time, then it's afternoon. So what do you feel? It's a morning or afternoon?
Sir,
Yes.
I feel
Sir,
it's
first I
afternoon,
feel
sir.
that it is feel it's morning, sir.
Morning.
After that,
Okay.
I've seen the
Sir, after this, I feel afternoon.
Okay, okay. After this, you'll feel afternoon. Okay, fine. See, it's a very interesting story here. The Banyan Tree. The title of the story is Banyan Tree, and part one, the writer talks about, he likes to climb the tree and likes to remain in the tree. Yes, spend his time there in the tree, and he comes across the fight between Cobra and the mongoose. So he goes on describing about the fight between Cobra and mongoose and last two lessons in both these books. Last two lessons, that is one here, the banyan tree, and the last story there, a strange, match which is going to be there. That is also very, very interesting. So first, let's see this story. This is the last chapter in Honeysuckle. Okay. So here, let's go to this last chapter of the Honeysuckle. This is a main course book and very important book. Good number of questions will be on this particular book. So let's go to this story, the last story, the last chapter. The title is The Banyan Tree. Okay, 10th one, The Banyan Tree. And you can see here mongoose and cobra. The fight of the cobra and the mongoose is a classic drama often seen in India. And so many stories you must have heard about. Yes, the fight between cobra and the mongoose. And the outcome is largely the same. So ultimately, what happens? Who emerges as the winner? The mongoose is not immune to the venomous bite, but is faster and quicker in motion than the snake. Snake, yes, it has a venom and it can kill mongoose. But because of its quick movement or fast movement, motion, it's a movement. It's ultimately the mongoose who often emerges as the winner. Don't fight like monkey. Yes, and mongoose. Okay, fine. So the cobra assumes a posture of defense and attempts to reach the animal by a sweeping strike, but the quick moving mongoose jumps out of reach. So it's a mongoose is always known for quick movements and comes at the snake from another direction. And what does it do? It attacks. So before the snake can get into striking position again, so this constant movement of yes cobra, what happens? It tires and it discourages the snake, and the mongoose is finally able to leap in close and bury its teeth deep in the snake's neck, usually severing or breaking the joints of its vertebra. So that is the the fight. So we are going to listen to the narration of the fight, and before that the writer talks about yes how the banyan tree was a place where he enjoyed the most, where he always used to find something very interesting. So their mungus are very, very energetic. Yes, true that they are very, very energetic. So let's go to the part one. And who has written this story? It is written by a famous short story writer, Ruskin Bond. Okay, so this story is a very, very interesting story because it talks about the fight between the mungus and the cobra. Okay, so in the first part, it is the tree which the writer enjoyed a lot, which was a place where it is it was just like a library. It is he used to read a lot of books there. Okay, though the house and grounds belong to my grandparents, the magnificent, so that's a beautiful old banyan tree was mine. So he feels that the tree was his, chiefly because grandfather at 65 could no longer climb it. So grandfather was not able to climb that tree and he was able to climb the tree, and he always liked in the afternoons to sit there, yes, on the tree. So it's a spreading branches. So Ruskin bond, yes. It's spreading branches. So the branches which are spread out, which hung to the ground, and so it's a banyan tree, alad mara. Yes, it's a alad mara, so it's a banyan tree. So spreading branches which hung to the ground and took root again, forming a number of twisting passages. So number of passages there. So here number of branches there where you could move around anywhere. Give me endless pleasure. So those passages, those branches where he had a passage he could move around there. So there's a big banyan tree in Bangalore. Okay, fine. So when he used to climb the banyan tree, probably sometimes you like to hang down those roots, so which will be hanging. Those roots will be hanging from the tree, and you may like to play their swing. Yes, among them were squirrels, snails, and butterflies. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as Dehradun town itself. Yes. So he tells about the tree was very old. I could hide myself in its branches. So very big tree. So he feels that he could hide himself in those branches behind thick green leaves and spy on the world below. So he can watch very secretly from there, from the banyan tree. My first friend was a small gray squirrel. So his friend, who was it? Squirrel. So squirrel was his friend, arcing his back, so bending his back. So squirrels usually they do that, isn't it? Children used to swing on the yes banyan tree, right? Arcing his back and sniffing into there, and it goes on sniffing also, sir. Those even the you'll find cats or dogs doing all that. So this squirrel sniffing into the air, trying to smell there, he seemed at first to resent my invasion, so oppose or dislike his invasion of his privacy. But when he found that I did not arm myself with catapult or air gun, so he was not harmful. When it realized that catapult was not there, you can shoot, yeah, birds and all with catapult. You can no, sir. I think it's so you can shoot that, with the help of the catapult, birds. So you can shoot the stones or a gun. He became friendly, and when I started bringing him pieces of cake and biscuit, he grew quite bold. So who grew quite bold? The squirrel became very bold and was soon taking morsels from hand. Morsels are pieces of cake or food. It was taking from hand. So it became bold. Who became bold? The squirrel became bold. Before long, he was delving into my pocket. So he was going deep into the pocket. Whose pocket? It was going deep into the pocket of the narrator, this boy who is narrating the story, and helping himself to whatever he could find there in the pocket. He was a very young squirrel, and his friends and relatives. So, can you see him? Yes, you can see the squirrel there. Right. It became very friendly. Probably thought him foolish. So, whom they thought foolish? Squirrel, because it was entering into the pocket and it was enjoying all that whatever he was giving. So, probably all they thought the squirrel was foolish because anytime he might harm that squirrel, and headstrong for trusting a human. So, how can the squirrel trust the human being? So, this is what probably this chapter come from exams. Yes, this chapter is there for this examination. Yes, this chapter is there, and simple questions will be asked. Don't worry about those. So, if you are if you just listen to me and definitely yes, then you'll be able to 6 to 10 chapters. So, all these chapters are there for the exam. Okay. In the spring, I'm just going a little bit faster here because the first part is describing about the tree, and the real fight, very interesting part, is in the second part. Okay. So the first animal that he became very friendly was the squirrel. In the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, So fruits, those figs, birds of all kinds would flock into its branches. So during the spring season, there would be, yes, for the tree would be full of figs, and then afterwards, yes, important paragraph in Kandas. Okay, fine, don't worry. When I'm going to discuss the questions, I will talk because the questions, whatever that are there at the end of the lessons, only from that it will come. So let's become familiar with all those questions there. Okay, Varun, don't worry. Just listen at the beginning. ಈಗ ಕೇಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವುದು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಇದೆ ಅದು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಆ ಮರ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದು ಲೈಬ್ರರಿ ಟೈಪ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅವನಿಗೆ. ಆ ಮರ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅವನಿಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಚಂದ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. वो पेड़ पे जाके बैठता था. कौन पेड़ पे जाके बैठता था? ये जो राइटर है ना, वो जब बच्चा था तभी वो पेड़ पे जाके बैठता था. उसको अच्छा लगता था. द चाइल्ड इज टू क्लाइंब द ट्री, इट इज टू एंजॉय. एंड देयर फर्स्ट person, yes, first animal that he became friendly was the squirrel. So गिलहरी के साथ वो क्या हो गया, बहुत ही friend बन गया. Okay, child was a narrator, yes. Probably Ruskin Bond is telling us when he was a child, yes, at that time what happened. Okay, so let's move on to this. In the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs. So how it used to be in the spring? It used to be full of figs, and birds of all kinds would flock into its branches. So ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಕ್ಷಿಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಆ ट्री ಮೇಲೆ. पंछी, बहुत से पंछी आते थे. कभी स्प्रिंग सीजन में, वसंत ऋतु जब रहता था तभी पंछी आते थे. और पेड़ में क्या रहता था? फिक्स fruits. Okay. The red bottom, bulbul, cheerful and greedy parrots, mynas, crows, scrabbling with one another, fighting with one another, maybe for fruits. Yes, childhood days story. Yes, probably childhood days stories. And he has written number of stories for children. Very interesting writer. And about nature, about tigers and all he has written there. So during the fig season, the banyan tree was the noisiest place in the garden because of the chirping of the birds. So many birds used to come. So that was the time when it used to be the noisiest, lot of noise. ತುಂಬಾ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. Choo, 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 choo. Yes, though all chirping, twittering of the birds. And that's why it is to be very noisy place. What is to be nice? Yes, Ruskin Bond got awards for, yes, literature. Yes, Ruskin Bond got awards also. That's true. So he's one of the most famous writers of India. The Britishers who settled down in India, and yes, still is alive and is writing beautiful stories. Okay, let's go to the this halfway up the tree. I had built a crude platform where I would spend the afternoons. So he had built a platform there, a sitting position there. When it was not too hot, I could read there, propping myself up against the tree. So, leaning against the tree with a cushion from the living room. Treasure Island, he always liked to read the books. Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn. So, these are all very interesting books. The story of Dr. Doolittle. So, for children, these children's books, very interesting books, were some of the books that made up my Banyan Tree library. So here that banyan tree was like a library for him, and he liked to read the books there. When I did not feel like reading, I could look down through the leaves at the world below. So when he did not like to read, at that time he used to see there what was there happening. And on one particular afternoon, I had a grandstand view. So he was sitting there and he had a very clear view from of that classic of the Indian wilds. And what did he watch? He watched a fight between a mongoose and a cobra. So what did he watch? He watched the fight between mongoose and cobra. Yes, they are natural enemies, mongoose and cobra. Yes, they are natural enemies. And the next part is very interesting part. That is the second part. And what is it dealing with? It is dealing with the fight between mongoose and cobra. So let's first revise what we have studied in the first part. The narrator liked to go and climb the tree. What was there? Whenever he used to go to the grandfather's house, There was a banyan tree, and he liked to climb the banyan tree. The banyan tree was like a library for him, and he used to read books there, leaning against the tree. Yes, now let's go to the next part. And the next part, it's about fight between mongoose and cobra. Okay, so this is a very, very interesting part two of this story, the banyan tree. The warm breezes of approaching summer had sent everyone, including the gardener, into the house. So probably it was a spring season, breeze, wind blowing, and very pleasant wind, cool wind, that we call it as a breeze. Very light wind is called as a breeze. So what is breeze? Breeze is light wind. So what is breeze? Breeze is light wind. The air was so hot, the warm but not very hot. So here the warm breeze, so here light wind of approaching summer had sent everyone, including, so usually the breeze is pleasant, but the windy, if it's a windy day, it's not very pleasant. Okay, so it was approaching summer because it was spring season, including the gardener into the house. So probably due to the very warm breezes, people used to prefer where in the house. I was feeling drowsy myself. So he was feeling sleepy, wondering if I should go to the pond and have a swim with Ramu and the buffaloes. So probably he was thinking, it's quite warm. Why not have a swim there with Ramu and the buffaloes? When I saw a huge black cobra gliding out of a clump of cactus. So huge black cobra was moving out of a group of trees. So clump of group of cactus plants. So cactus plants were there, and cobra was naga. How? How ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು Sam. किसने देखा? नैरेटर ने देखा. ये बच्चे ने क्या देखा? एक सांप को देखा. So it was coming out of a clump of cactus. It was coming out of those tree plants, cactus plants. At the same time, a mongoose emerged from the bushes and went straight for the cobra. So here now what he saw? He saw a cobra and he saw mongoose. ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ಗೆ ನೋಡಿದೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನ್ ಒಂದು ಹಾವಿಗೆ ಯಾರು ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ ಆ ಮಗು ಯಾರು ಟ್ರೀ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೂತಿದಾನೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ವೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ಈ ಸಿಟಿಂಗ್ ದೇರ್? ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಕ್ಲೈಂಬ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀ ಅಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಚಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಅ ಕೋಬ್ರಾ ಅಂಡ್ what? And a mongoose. In a clearing beneath the banyan tree, in a clearing, in the open space under the banyan tree. So there was an open space under the banyan tree in bright sunshine. It was quite bright, and he was, yes, able to see that. It was quite bright, and he was able to see what the cobra knew only too well, that the grey mongoose, 3 feet long, was a super fighter, clever and aggressive. The snakes know that mongoose, yes, they are great fighters. They are very clever. Their movements, very quick movements, and at the same time, they are very aggressive. So here, ಏನಿದೆಗ ಫೈಟ್ ಇದೆ ಯಾರ್ ಮಡವೆ ಫೈಟ್ ಇದೆ ಮುಂಗೋಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹಾವ್ ಸಾಂಪ್ or Nevla. Nevla is mongoose, okay? But the cobra too was a skillful and experienced fighter. And this cobra was also an experienced fighter. He could move swiftly and strike with the speed of light. And the sags behind his long, sharp fangs, the teeth, venomous teeth, fangs, venomous teeth of cobra, sags, the bags which are filled with venom. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರ್ತದೆ ಹಾವಿದು ಹಲ್ಲಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಹಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ವಿಷ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಫ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಾವಿದ ಹಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಫ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. सांप के जो दांत है उसको क्या बोलते हैं? फैंक्स बोलते हैं. और उसके पीछे क्या रहता है? एक सैक
Sir, your
बैग रहता
voice
है.
is breaking,
उसमें
sir.
क्या रहता है? वेनम रहता है, पॉइजन रहता है ना. देयर रिएक्शन. So here you see snakes are also quite, they also, what, they will be attacking. They are very venomous, they are very poisonous, and they are quite harmful also. But Mungo's also very quick. The sacks behind his long sharp fangs were full of deadly poison. It was to be a battle of champions. Both are champions and battle of champions. Champions of champions. Yes. But what happens? Snake, it can be champions against other animals. But when it comes to mongoose, we don't know who. Yes, it's usually the mongoose who becomes champion of champions, isn't it? Yes. So it's a battle of champions, and both champions they try to fight, and it's usually who emerges the winner. It's usually the mongoose who emerges as a winner. Hissing defiance, his forked tongue darting in and out, the cobra raised 3 of his 6 feet off the ground and spread his broad spectacled hood. Now, Cobra is getting ready to fight. When Cobra is getting ready to fight, when it wants to resist defiance, when it wants to resist, show resistance, then what it does? It hisses. It wants to scare the mongoose. So what does it do? It hisses and it brings out its tongue, forked tongue. It's a divided tongue. And it would bring out that tongue darting in and out, moving in and out very quickly. So what does the cobra do to show its readiness? The cobra hisses and moves its takes out the tongue again and again. The cobra raised 3 of his 6 feet off the ground and spread his broad spectacled hood. So it has raised its hood. So the cobra raises its hood. The cobra hisses and it takes out the tongue from its mouth. Yes, it takes out the tongue from its mouth. The mongoose, what the mongoose has done to show its readiness, the mongoose pushed its tail. The mongoose has shaken its tail. The long hair on its spine stood up. So the hair they are raised. They stand up. The hair raises. It raises its hair. So it's ready. Both the fighters are ready. Who are ready? The mongoose is ready. The snake is ready, the cobra is ready, it hisses, it takes out the tongue again and again, and it raises its hood. And mongoose, it bushes its tail, it waves its tail, it shakes its tail. The long hair stood up. So ಇಬ್ರು ರೆಡಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಯಾರು ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ ರೆಡಿ ಇದೆ ಹಾವು ರೆಡಿ ಇದೆ ಹಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಠಕ್ ಕಳಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಫುಸ್ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಫುಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಲ್ಗೆ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನಾಲ್ಗೆ ತೆಗಿತದೆ ಹೊರಗೆ ಎಸ್ ಸೊ ದ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಇಸ್ ರೆಡಿ ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಟೇಲ್ ಬಾಲ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಬಾಲ ಅಲ್ಗಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಸೊ ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ इज रेडी यस नेवला भी अभी रेडी है फाइट करने के लिए सांप भी रेडी है देखना है हमें कौन हाँ हु होप mungoose will win you are hoping mungoose will win okay let's see how the fight takes place now here it's a cobra very poisonous isn't it though the combatants were unaware of my presence in the tree. So, who was present in the tree? Yes, who was present in the tree? The narrator, the writer, this child who is narrating the story to us. He was present there in the tree. Though the combatants, fighters. And who are the fighters? Mungoose and Cobra. They were soon made aware of the arrival of two other spectators. So they were two other spectators. Not only the writer, they were two other spectators. You copy me. You copy me. Whom you? Okay. Right. So here there are yes, there are two fighters now. And who are those two fighters? Mungoose and Cobra. And there are two spectators. Those who are watching. ಇಬ್ರು ಜನ ವಾಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಯಾರು ವಾಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ there is a ಮೈನಾ ಇದೆ and then there is a crow cow, crow. Yes, they'll be calming. So there's a jungle crow and there's a myna. These two are the spectators. They are watching the fight. That seen these preparations for battle. That seen that the snake was getting ready, Mungus was getting ready for the battle, and had settled on the cactus to watch the outcome. They wanted to see what is going to be the result. Had they been content only to watch, all would have been well with both of them. If they would have been happy just to watch, there would not have been any problem. But what has happened? How will they keep quiet? These spectators, they were not ready to keep quiet. And what did they do? They joined their battle. This epic battle between this classic drama between the mongoose and snake, mongoose and cobra, who have joined. Yes, can you see her? Who is there? Can you see? There's a myna and there's a crow. So this crow is there and there's a myna. Both of them. They are the spectators. And there's a fight going on. Between whom? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫೈಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹಾವು ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಹಾವು ಜೊತೆ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ? ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಇಬ್ರು ಜನ ವಾಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೋ ವಾಚ್ ಕರ್ ರहे कौन है? You hope snake is Pakistan. So our arch rival is Pakistan, isn't it? Our enemy is Pakistan. Okay, fine. All right, no problem. You can think like that. The fight, but the fight is going on. No, no, the fight is about to start between Ukraine and Russia. Yes, yes. What is happening there internationally? I hope you are all aware of that. Yes, fine. Okay, fine. Let's come to this. You can see here in the picture. Can you see in the picture? You can see mungus and you can see cobra, and then in the cactus you can see. Yes, what is there? There is a crow and there is Maina. Okay? And this fellow is sitting there, no? Leaning against. Can you see her? Okay. Our
Yes, sir.
narrator. As if you are sitting there on the branch of the tree and watching all that fun. Yes, the fight. Yes, let's go to this fight now. I think it's a very interesting fight, isn't it? Right. Crow and Maina, they are the umpires. Yes, Crow and Maina are umpires. If they would have remained umpire, no problem. But they joined the battle. And they were the supporters of whom? You all appear to be supporters of Mungus. Some of you are calling that India is a Mungus. Okay, fine. Very quick
Yes,
in
sir.
its movement, very clever. Yes, India, if it's like Mungus, very good. So very clever, very, yes, bold, ready to fight. Yes, and yes, Pakistan, because it's a haven for terrorists, it's sending terrorists all over the world. So yes, just like a snake, yes, venomous snake, and it's spreading venom all over the world. Yes, beautifully. I mean, you have been able to compare it. Okay, fine. This you have extended the fight, gone beyond this chapter. Very interesting. Good boys, you are all very creative. Okay, right. The cobra stood on the defensive. So the cobra is ready to defend itself, swaying slowly from side to side, trying to mesmerize the mongoose into making a false move. So what is magically it is trying to capture the attention of the mongoose. So it's a trying to defend itself, moving here and there, swaying, and this is how it is trying to mesmerize, captivate the mongoose. But the mongoose knew the power of his opponent's glassy, unwinking eyes, so shining. No eyes, our bodies shining and unwinking eyes, very staring all the time, refused to meet them. So he was not, ready to, under, yes, just give away. Instead, he fixed his gaze, so it kept on gazing at a point just below the cobra's hood. It knew where to attack. And just below, it was not looking at it, but it was just looking below the cobra's hood and opened the attack and began the attack, moving forward quickly until he was just within the cobra's reach. The mongoose made a pretended move to one side. So it made a as if it was pretending to move to one side. Immediately the cobra stuck. So strike. So cobra has hit. It has stuck. His great hood came down so swiftly. So hood it has come down very quickly that I thought nothing could save the mongoose. But the little fellow jumped neatly to one side. But mongoose, they are known for their quick movements. And it had jumped neatly to one side, darted in as swiftly as a cobra. So moved in as swiftly as a cobra, biting the snake on the back. And what it has done, it has bit the snake on the back and immediately darting away, moving away again out of reach of Cobra. So who has attacked now? Yes, is it Cobra or it's a Mungus? Mungus has been able to attack. At the same moment that the Cobra struck, the crow and the myna hurled themselves at him. So what this see if they would have remained spectators, no problem. But they have themselves threw, they're down. Crow and myna hurled, they come down only to collide heavily in midair, and both of them they collide in midair. Shrieking insults at each other, they return to the cactus plant. They collide, so they are all dashing against each other. Again, they come back, shrieking. A few drops of blood glistened on the cobra's back. And why it was shining? Because of the mungus bite. A few drops of blood were shining there. So they were dripping from cobra's back and the bite that here. The cobra stuck. So now cobra, you think that it would keep quiet? It was not ready to keep quiet. What means bites in Kannada? Kachudu. Kachudu. Bite means what? Kachudu. ಯಾರು ಕಚ್ಚುತ್ತಾರೆ ಎಸ್ ಮುಗುಸ್ ಕಚ್ಚಿದ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೊಬ್ರಾಗೆ ಆನ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆ ಕಚ್ಚಿನ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಫ್ಯೂ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ದಟ್ ವಿಸ್ ಶೈನಿಂಗ್ ದೇರ್ ದ ಕೋಬ್ರಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಕ್ಸ್ and it misses. Again, the mongoose sprang aside, jumped in and bit. So again, mongoose had jumped. Again, the birds dived at the snake. So again, both these birds, myna and crow, they dived at the snake. So they are supporting who? Mongoose bumped into each other. Again, they have collided against each other, bumped into each other. He stayed and returned shriekingly, shrieking to the safety of the captors. So, second time also they bumped against each other. Probably they wanted to attack the snake, but they were not able to attack the snake and they collided against each other. The third round followed the same course as the first, but with one dramatic difference. Third time, Myna and Crow, again they have come down. What has happened both times? You know that simply if they would have remained spectators, no problem. The Crow and the Myna still determined to take part in the proceedings. So they joined the battle. They wanted to take part in the fight, dived at the Cobra. So now this time they have dived at the Cobra. But this time they missed each other. So they have not collided against each other as well as they mark. The Maina flew on and reached its perch. So Maina could go back and sit there on the resting place of it. So perch is usually where it sits. But the crow tried to pull up in midair. So it wanted to take a turn in midair. And when it turned back, what has happened? In the second that it took the bird to do this, the cobra whipped his head back and struck with great force. So both his Maina and Crow wanted to support the Mungus. They were watching the fun, but they thought that they should trouble Cobra. And what has happened? The Cobra was annoyed with these birds, and Cobra has attacked. Now, not only the Mungus, but Cobra has attacked whom? The snake has attacked whom? The crow. It's now thudding against the crow's body. So it's a mouth, snout, the nose and the mouth. That's a snout that was hitting against the crow's body, and it was able to bite that. And then I saw the bird flung nearly 20 feet across the garden. So it could not go back to the cactus. But what has happened? It fell down far away there. Yes, in the garden. It fluttered about for a while. So its a body started shaking for a while. Chelu, what means it? So I fluttered about for a while, then lay still, and then after that, what? It was lying still. It was not making any movement. The myna remained on the cactus plant. So who survived? Myna survived. What happened to crow? The snake. Yes, this now the snake. What it has done? It has bit the crow. So the snake bit the crow. The snake, no, the snake bit the crow, and the crow died. So the crow was killed by the snake bite. The crow was killed by the snake bite. The myna remained on the cactus plant. And what myna did? Now this time it didn't dare because it saw what had happened to the crow. And Wayne, can you see her? Yes. Can you see the crow? What had happened to the crow? Crow was killed by the snake. Right. And the mongoose returned to the fight, very wisely decided not to interfere again. Who decided not to interfere? It's a myna who decided not to interfere because it's a friend, it's a partner it had lost. The crow was dead. The cobra had bit it. The cobra was weakening. Who was weakening? The cobra was weakening. The mongoose, walking fearlessly up to it, raised himself on his short legs and with a lightning snap, with a lightning speed, had the big snake by the snout. So it caught hold of its mouth, snout. The cobra writhed, so twisted and lashed about in a frightening manner and even coiled itself about the mongoose. But it had become very weak, but to no avail. The little fellow hung grimly on. So it kept on, the mongoose, until the snake had ceased to struggle. He then smelled along its quivering, that's a shaking length, gripped it round the hood, and dragged it into the bushes. So who has taken into the bushes? The snake was taken into the bushes. And ultimately, who won? ಯಾರು ವಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ ವಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಸೊ ಮುಂಗೂಸ್ ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ಲಿ ಟುಕ್ ದಟ್ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡೋಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬುಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬುಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡೋಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ಲಿ ಹೂ ಓನ್ this battle was won by the Mongoose. But the spectator, one of the spectators, who was one of the spectators? That's a crow that was killed by the cobra. The myna dropped cautiously to the ground. So it came down very, very carefully, hopped about, it jumped about, peered into the bushes, looked into the bushes, where who was taken? The cobra was taken by whom? It was taken by the mongoose. With a shrill cry of congratulations, probably, it congratulated the mongoose and then it flew away. So, who has written this story? Ruskin Bond has written this story. Let's move on to the important questions. This all you can write, there's no problem. The old Banyan.
Sir, someone is sharing, sir.
Okay, let's move on to those, important questions. Again, one.
Sir, Tanmay Verma only.
Tanmay
Sir,
Verma, sir.
Verma,
sir,
sir.
Tanmay Verma.
No, sir, not
Yes.
me, sir. Someone gave me the presentation.
No, sir, Tanmay Sharma only, sir.
Okay, let's move on to those questions now. There are two, three questions. You can just have a look at that. I'll go to the
Tanmay
important
Verma,
questions.
please don't
Remaining all I
present.
wanted to discuss, but anyway, we'll just see that. Okay, what did the cobra and the mongoose do? Yes, to show their
Sir, they
interest for
fight
the
each
fight.
other.
So what did cobra do? I'll just come to this. What did cobra do? Cobra hissed. One thing is cobra hissed and it darted out its tongue. It moved out its forked tongue. And thirdly, what did it do? Yes, it is, and it raised its hood. The cobra raised its hood, it hissed, and it took out its tongue. Whereas mongoose waved its tail. It shook its tail to show their readiness for the fight. Who were the other two spectators? Who were the spectators? Can you tell the answer?
Pro and minus, sir.
Crow and Myna, they were the spectators. What did they do? What did they do? They joined the fight. They joined the fight. Yes?
And sir supported the mongoose.
Supported the mongoose. Yes? They wanted to trouble whom? The snake, but ultimately. Okay, right. And let's go to the next question there. What happened to the crow in the end? What happened to the crow?
Sir, it died by the venom of a snake.
Yes?
Crow died, sir. Crow died,
Right?
sir. Yes,
At the
sir,
end, the
by the
crow
venom of
was killed by the snake. What happened to
snake,
the
sir.
crow in the end? The crow was killed by the or the
Snake, sir.
snake bit the crow and the crow was killed or the crow died. What did the myna do finally? The myna
Sir, it
did
fly in the
not
sky.
did not interfere. Yes, the myna did not interfere finally, isn't it?
And fly over.
Remaining
Sir, Maina finally brought to ground hopped about the peered into the bushes from a safe
See,
distance, sir.
okay. Maina finally did not interfere and later flew away after after the defeat of the snake. Yes, isn't it? So you can just write simple way. Even if you write that Maina decided not to interfere after the death of after the snake bite of the crow. Even if you write that is fine. Okay. You write anything, there's no problem. That is all acceptable. Even if you write that the Maina flew away finally, that is also right. The Maina did not interfere and flew away finally. That is also okay. Fine. Okay. Okay, I think the time is up now, and with that, we'll end up the session.